My younger brother, who has now been nicknamed Judas, due to his unfortunate choice in choosing to undermine the spiritual leadership of his older brothers in family matters. Here's how he recently misrepresented us in a sermon. I would have been unaware of this, but another friend sent it to me thinking I'd find it amusing. Unfortunately, the little story that he told was wrong, because it was my story. He was too young to remember, thus he made some stuff up to fit his dark, self-righteous narrative.
A miserable change. Have you ever been gypped? My older brothers one day, when I was 4 or 5 years old, said, "Give us your dime and we'll give you 2 pennies." Look, there's beautiful shiny pennies. They're just the same size. They're bigger. They're made out of copper. And I went for it. I had no idea. It was a miserable exchange. Yet many who profess to be keeping all the commandments of God are doing the same thing. There are people...
First of all, it was 1 penny traded for a dime, not 3 pennies. Secondly, it wasn't his dime to begin with. The origin of that dime is unknown. Probably it was my mother's. Thirdly, even though he was 3 years old and didn't really know what money was, he did make a greed-based choice to trade that small dime for a shinier, more heavy penny. I do not remember my older brother being there, but he says that he was, and that it was his idea to entice little Duke with a shiny penny. We all pretended that it was more valuable. As I recall, it was my friend Bart who suggested the devious trade. Bart and I were only 7 years old. Either way, little Duke took the penny and was happy. We were happy. We found the whole thing hilarious. It endeared us more to our little brother, who we already adored. I don't remember what we did with that dime, but I do remember that my friend Bart shortly thereafter accidentally swallowed a dime when he held it up to a light in his attic room. His mother became frantic and called the family doctor. The doctor said that it would probably pass in his stool since it had made it to his stomach. Finally, about 2 days later, Bart had to go while we were walking on a wooded trail nearby. With great excitement, his sister held our dog Lassie so she wouldn't eat the dime. Bart and I went to work probing with sticks, and miraculously, there was the dime. After a good clean, that dime was spent at the corner store a mile away. A bar 6, as I recall, big and juicy. About 2 years later, we went on a family trip to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan to help my father and grandfather take off the yearly crop. The season was somewhat late and school started early, so my dad had to send us back on the train back to Vancouver from Saskatoon. On the train, somehow little Duke, who was already spoiled and on his way to a life of tooth decay and obesity, somehow got a hold of $2-3. And he found out that he went to the pantry in the food car that he could buy a chocolate bar for a dime. He just loved this. And he just kept going back and forth between 4 or 5 cars every hour. Truth be told, little Duke ate at least 15 chocolate bars on that trip because I was counting them. Somewhere I passed out, probably near Revelstoke or Golden. My brother doesn't really remember, but he does recall complaining to my mother and my grandmother about it. And they said, "Oh, leave him alone. He was just having a good time." My Uncle Norman tells a story of my Uncle Victor visiting Las Vegas in the 50s. He apparently placed a dime on the spinning wheel, hoping to win the big odds. When he saw that he was going to lose that dime, he quickly grabbed it and walked away. Lastly, Ron Barker famously said many times to us to shut us up. "Here's a dime. Why don't you call someone who cares?"